When you first start a video game, what's the first choice you usually make? Your character class, your weapon, where they go, your first quest? No, difficulty. A few years ago, I used to not think about changing the difficulty all that much, and why would I? It may make enemies take more damage to defeat, make certain game mechanics unnecessary, lower down your health, or maybe just turn off the whole tutorial completely. Which I found really stupid, especially if that's gonna be my first playthrough. There you go. I think that's enough damage. Oh. Oh, whoa, 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 what the fuck? In a way, changing the difficulty can be a subtle change, but it can also be significant enough to ruin a game. It's kinda like I'm going against how the developer crafted their game and intended it to be experienced. If I increase it, I'd risk adding unnecessary tediousness to the game, and if I lower it instead, I'm basically decreasing the game's length, as I'd probably find it easier to beat. The thing is, this choice is usually permanent, and since I don't want to restart the whole game just to try and change it again, I, and maybe you too, usually just go with the default setting. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in that rare scenario that I did change the difficulty, something magical happened. Ever since I finished Dark Souls, every other game I played didn't feel as satisfying to beat. Instead, for the most part, I only just complete the main story. In a way, Dark Souls somewhat ruined video games for me. Going through challenges became addicting, and anything that doesn't give me said challenge is no longer as fun. What am I looking at? I needed a challenge. I needed to feel like I really did beat a game, or at least something new. So in that desperate attempt to feel that experience again, I decided to play one of my all-time favorite games on the hardest difficulty. And it kinda worked. Here's the thing, if you describe Left 4 Dead 2's gameplay, what would you say? It's an action game where you go through hordes of enemies, shoot everything that moves, troll random people online, and get banned from the room in the process. It's a horror game. It has zombies, you have guns, swords, grenades, your pistols has unlimited ammo, and your AI companions are probably smart enough to handle most of what the game throws at you. Mostly. It's not really a game where I have to think. It's a game where I can boot up, play with friends, try out mods, while my real game is updating. Funnily enough though, despite how the game plays, if you really think about it, it's strangely similar to a different genre entirely. You start with basic items and equipment, go from point A to point B, defeat every enemy you encounter, gather new weapons and upgrades, do one last stand at the end, and do it all over again. On expert mode, you will die again, and again, and again, and again. Well, that's just not right. Left 4 Dead 2 went from survival horror action game to something closer to a zombie roguelite. Now, I use roguelite very loosely here because I don't want to piss off the whole Left 4 Dead 2 fanbase. God forbid, I tried to ask some of my Left 4 Dead 2 friends to play Back 4 Blood with me and half of them blocked me instead. Left 4 Dead 2 has a mechanic wherein if I lose a campaign, all of my weapons and upgrades are taken back, and it's not guaranteed that they'll even respawn. What's more, the map resets, so it'll also randomize the location of items, the spawn points of weapons, and where the objective related items would be, making the map somewhat different every time I try again. This mechanic has always been there before, but since no one actually loses a game of Left 4 Dead 2, at least I don't think we do, we never really see this game mechanic in action until we play it on harder difficulties. And it was fun. I played the game with some of my friends, and we had to do things we never did before just so we can survive the next run. We had to stick together, use strategy, make shots count, save up on pipe bombs, things that you'd expect to do in a survival game as opposed to an action game, especially Left 4 Dead 2. And the best part, the final stand for each campaign made completing a run extremely fulfilling to accomplish. But of course, just because we can change the difficulty doesn't mean that we should. I eventually did realize that no matter how much fun it is to overcome challenges, if it doesn't fit with the game's overall vision, then it might not be as fun as you'd think. Ori and the Blind Forest is a Metroidvania filled with twists and turns enveloped with a unique design that screams imagination. But because of how the gameplay looks, I thought, hey, let's add some difficulty. I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna love the game anyways. I played Hollow Knight and that was fun. It might even be a nice way to somewhat prolong the game. Which, I mean, it did, but it's definitely not for the best. This might be a slight spoiler, but there's this one awesome moment in the game where you have to escape an area slowly being filled with water. Now, the level itself was amazingly designed. The music was epic and intense, visual effects filled the screen, and I was in fact having a lot of fun. But because I played on max difficulty, what ruined the experience for me was, surprise surprise, it was way too easy for me to die. Do one wrong jump and you'd have to try again from the very start. Much like how it was in Left 4 Dead 2, this happened over and over and over again. Despite how great and cinematic the experience was, I sadly and slowly got sick of the music, which kinda sucks because the music was genuinely really good. My eyes started to hurt because I had to constantly keep track of everything that was happening on the screen, and by the end of it, I was exhausted, demoralized, and I desperately just needed to have a break. You can call it a skill issue if you'd like. I'm not a god gamer, as the kids say, but video games are supposed to be fun. Sometimes, challenge is fun. Sometimes, not so much. In fact, I've learned that going with easier difficulties can even often to lead to more fun. What the hell did I just say? Going with easier difficulties can often even lead to more fun. BioShock has a mechanic wherein if I played as a good guy, I will then be punished by being provided less upgrade points compared to if I just played as a morally bad character. Playing on easy fixes this, as the given upgrade points wouldn't be as less, making it much more attractive to play as a morally good character. In the Arkham series, the normal difficulty is more than enough to give me the perfect balance of challenge and fun. But funnily enough, playing it on easy has a unique consequence wherein it kinda made me feel more like Batman, seeing my enemies panic and hide while I had much less of a problem with combat because, well, I'm Batman. The Persona series is part dungeon crawler and part visual novel. Play it on easy and dungeons will literally take way less days to clear, making it feel more like a visual novel instead. Obviously, this doesn't work with every game, but it's nice to know that the option is there when it does. Playing games on different difficulties highly increased my appreciation for certain developers. You can tell which ones cared enough about their game and the ones that did not. I hate it when they try to, let's say, make a game more difficult. What they do is they try to artificially increase your enemy's health as a solution. I mean, it works if done right and added with existing gameplay choices, but if not, it only makes the game feel more like a chore to beat. Which I don't want. That's why I found Souls-like games to be fun. It's not just a game designed to be tedious and hard. Instead, it was challenging, but fair. So, go ahead. Change the difficulty. It could make the game more immersive, more enjoyable, more accessible, sometimes give you an opportunity to better appreciate the story, or maybe even change the genre completely. It's amazing. With that said though, the question remains. If you were to ask me, Ellie, would you change the difficulty of your games? I'd say, nah, I'd rather just play the game how it was intended. How about you guys? Do you change your difficulty? I mean, it's funny because there was a time where I used to play every single game on its max difficulty. It was fun for a time, but I soon realized that I was mostly doing that just to feel accomplished, which is really sad. Dragon Age Origins was one of those games that really did feel amazing to beat at max difficulty. Left 4 Dead 2 as well, as I've said. Games with survival elements like, I don't know, The Last of Us had a difficulty wherein it would get rid of some of the HUD elements, kinda like Metro Last Light, and that was incredibly fun. But I ain't gonna do that again on all of my games. Video games are supposed to be fun, as I mentioned before. It's how I relax, it's how I enjoy my pastime and stuff. I don't know, I can't speak English well, but I wouldn't add more challenge to that. I'd rather just play the game how it was fully intended. If I do replay the game, then I'll change the difficulty, but it's better to just be played how it was intended. That's my opinion, at least. How about you guys? Do you change your difficulty? I've already asked this before. I don't know why I'm asking it again. Leave it in the comment section below. I'd like to know what you guys think. Bye!